Well, guys, welcome to a new episode of the Canned Heat podcast. We're your host, Christian Bullard.
On church.
Today, we're going to be going back in time a little bit, last year, to AEW's first inaugural pay-per-view, Double or Nothing, 2019, at the MGM Grand Arena in Las Vegas. We're super excited to revisit this show. In case this is the first one you're seeing, we're going to be going through every pay-per-view that AEW has put out in its own separate video. And so, we figured we'd just start with the first one. And, don't need to waste any other time. Tony, what were your initial thoughts going into this?
Going into it, there was a couple things. First, I would say before the pay-per-view actually happened, I was super stoked. I was following the idea of AEW before it ever happened. I was hearing there's some trademarks. I was hearing there's some stuff. So I was following like crazy, so burnt out on WWE.
Yeah.
But wanting to watch wrestling every week. So I was following this. So as soon as they announced it, I was sold. I was all in, no pun intended. But like 100%. So it was great to revisit what started it all. I would say the number one thing, and we might mention this a couple times, but I think the number one thing that stood out to me was just how much the crowd really means to a wrestling show, especially a pay-per-view, something of this caliber. But it's great. Just, you can see who's over and who's not, and you can see, who's exciting the crowd, what's not exciting the crowd. Those things matter so much. And right now, you have to literally go and scroll Twitter to find out. And so, man, I can't wait for this pandemic to be done.
Right. Yeah. And there was definitely a lot of the show where we could see how the crowd acted in one way or another. We'll kind of get onto that. Real quick, this was actually my coming back to a wrestling show. I had stopped watching wrestling in about summer of 2014 and was just there's just nothing. WWE had been sucking for a long time. TNA or Impact was always disappointing me. And so I just kind of got burnt out on the whole industry and just kind of walked away for what I thought was going to be forever, but it wasn't until this show and actually you having me watch it that kind of brought me back as one of the lapsed fans. So I'm definitely glad that happens.
Yeah, I think what kind of saved me, kind of a side note, but what saved me with NXT, I had something every week to kind of gnaw on, and I've since stopped watching NXT, but I at least had something that wasn't full-blown WWE Vince McMahon. So I'm really glad that here we are rewatching this pay-per-view. All right.
And so what we're going to do real quick is we're going to kind of go through everything, all the matches, all the segments, or whichever ones are the most important. And then at the end, we're going to give a verdict of a out of 10 scale. And so we're not going to include the buy-in on that just because that's not actually a part of the main card. And so, so the actual main card will be a part of the verdict, but we're still going to review the buy-in a little bit. We'll just kind of give our quick thoughts and then kind of go on to the main show. Does that work?
Perfect.
All right, cool. Let's go ahead and start off with the Casino Battle Royale match.
This was fun, but also so chaotic, as we'll probably be able to talk about, next month when we review another pay-per-view. But the first ever buy-in, you're or Casino Royale, you're oh wow, all these guys are coming out at one time. They don't know who to announce. They don't know who to come out kind of first. So that part is super chaotic. And if there's one thing that's nice about one guy coming out at a time is you can they have the little spots real quick. The next guy comes out. They do the little spot. Next guy comes out, which I think was really good about the Casino ladder match that we saw this year.
Yeah.
Was they did have time in between each competitor. But I liked that they were trying something new, and that's what made me happy here.
Mm-hmm.
All in all, go ahead.
I was going to say, it was good. There was definitely some glaring production issues where you all of a sudden you can only hear Justin Roberts' mic from the acoustics from inside. It wasn't the feed from going to the thing. There were a few different things. We're going to talk about the other ones that happened during the show. So that part kind of when I first watched it, I was kind of okay, that sucks a little bit.
Yep.
Like they need to like kind of be more on the game on that. But I thought MJF was the standout for this
For
for
sure.
me. Even when I remember first watching it for the first time, it was that way. But Adam Page winning, I didn't really know who Adam Page was or MJ. I didn't, all these guys have really come out the past like 4 or 5 years. I guess, 5 years.
Meanwhile, I'm like, Adam Page, come on.
Right, yeah. So he came out, and I was like, okay, that guy looks good. He looks like someone you'd be like, he's got a good look. He's got a good, style. So I was intrigued to see what he was going to bring, but at that point, I knew absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I liked. They presented him. I mean, you wouldn't know this too much, but they presented him in a way different light than the Bullet Club did, because the Bullet Club always had him as just like somebody who filled the ranks. In a lot of ways, he was kind of like Sammy Guevara of the Bullet Club to the Inner Circle. You were like, okay, you're good, you've got potential, but you're not there. And so the other companies he worked in hadn't fully bought into him. But meanwhile, he's with his friends who were like, no, you were as good as us. And so this was kind of the beginning of his push, which we'll see later kind of flounders a little bit, and then he reinvents himself and it goes great. But he obviously stands out here, selling his knee super well. Excalibur selling his knee to help was really good. So, again, it's a bit chaotic. Some of the spots were reused, but Orange Cassidy was a huge standout here as well. I think this is what got him signed. And Tommy Dreamer in the polka dots, fantastic. Just little things like that. I still wonder why they had Glacier, but
it just seemed like they were just trying to grab whoever the heck they could find, relevant or not.
Well, and apparently Brian Cage was backstage.
Really? I did not know about that.
He was supposed to come out, and it was going to be fine and everything. And like last minute, Impact called him and told him he could not come out. And so he didn't come out on stage. So he was actually supposed to be an entrant. But I think it's kind of in some way good because he's so big. And so how would he not win that? So
sure.
Even like
he got a proper debut, a better debut next year. So
for sure. And with Luchasaurus's elimination, I thought was weak. With the way, like, you could totally see he was just going to go over the rope because Adam Page ducked or whatever. It was pretty weak. And so I'm glad there wasn't like another, situation with Brian Cage. Anyway, obviously Luchasaurus has rebounded from that, but moving on.
So Adam Page gets for that, becomes the first #1 contender for the world title, which will get what it looks like will get revealed later on. But then we just go into a match with Kip Sabian and Sammy Guevara. Again, two people I had no idea about. And it's just, I think the biggest thing that's crazy about this is how much Sammy has like elevated since just this one-off enhancement talent match.
For sure.
It just seemed like it was just kind of thrown together.
Yeah, well, for me, I actually like this Sammy character better than Inner Circle Sammy.
With Panda stuff?
Because he's being him. Inner Circle Sammy is very much they play, I think, too much into his YouTube stuff. And I personally, I just don't like it. But I really like Panda Sammy, very cocky, over the top Sammy, who hasn't lost a ton of matches. So if he acted this way now, like, it wouldn't make sense, one, because he's not on TV, but two, because he's lost so many matches. So, but I really did like that version of him. And then Kip was a babyface here and did really well.
Yeah.
And so I didn't mind that, and I wouldn't mind seeing him as a babyface later. I think they were still just trying to decide what to do with a lot of these guys. And I don't think Kip had actually been announced as signing with the company until after this match. So I think this match actually got him his contract because Sammy was signed.
Sure. Yeah. No, but both guys, I think did really well. Kip Sabian gets the win. He becomes the first person to win a singles match in AEW history. So it's kind of cool. Then we go on to the main card. And so a show officially starts.
Yep. So we start with the legit flag waving, and we actually have some people singing, which I thought was really cool. It was cool. That was like a family thing. Obviously, nothing too much to say about the national anthem, but it was fun seeing it on the actual show and not like, okay, they did that there.
Right.
It kind of gave it a prestige feel for me because it was more like WrestleMania-esque. Like you get an act like that happens in WrestleMania, but all these other pay-per-views, they don't really do it. So I think it elevated it just a little bit. And then we go to the actual first match where we have SCU versus the Strong Hearts of OWE, which is
almost said OVE, and I was like, oh wait, no, that's
Sammy
Callahan.
We're right off the bat. JR says OEW or something like that, or
oh really? Oh,
yeah, like he says it wrong right off the bat. And I'm like, oh no, this is going to be a long night. But SCU comes out. They do their whole, this is the worst town I've ever been in. But obviously everybody loves them. So it's just kind of funny hearing babyfaces trash the town. But for somebody who doesn't know who SCU is and doesn't know what's going on here, they're like New Age Outlaws? ? But yeah, this is fun, and it actually made me miss it because they don't really do this kind of thing since there's nobody in the crowd anymore.
Yeah.
So I actually kind of miss, like, it's a huge part of their gimmick that's missing currently. But
yeah, I thought this match was okay. A few of these matches, like the Kip and Sammy one, and a couple others later on, were just kind of like just enhancement matches. Like here's just who we have kind of thing. So there wasn't really like a story attached to it, at least not that I could really pick up on. So, but it was fun. Like like some of these matches they could also could have been on like on Dynamite, but given the circumstances of like the debuting company, this is kind of just where they had to be.
I think as we'll probably see throughout this card, Excalibur really saves a lot of the enhancement part. Like, this match wouldn't be as big feeling if Excalibur wasn't on commentary, I think. And he did a really good job. The couple of notes I had from this were that it really made me want to see Scorpio Sky versus T-Hawk in a singles match because their exchanges were really good. And I think T-Hawk could actually be a really good member of this roster. But other than that, I didn't really care for the other two. And I have no issues with SEU, but for me, like, all I care about is Scorpio Sky and him elevating in the future.
It's kind of
like, how long have you been watching Christopher Daniels wrestle? Like,
I mean, since like 2009, I guess. So that was when I first started watching like TNA and everything. But I don't know. It's kind of weird saying this because there was kind of a big thing of like the OWE thing, and now it's just kind of like gone. So
did you watch any so OWE put out some pretty promo-y videos because they got it kind of announced and they needed like everyone to see who they were, and these videos were awesome. Like, these guys like legit wrestle and do kung fu. Like, they are great. They just sent us the most American of the three. But if you actually, I would recommend, if you're watching this, like, go Google these guys. They can really wrestle, and so I would love to see them. I mean, I would like to say it's the pandemic's fault, but like AEW really wasn't utilizing these guys pre-pandemic anyway.
Oh, definitely.
So it's kind of like, but I think if AEW does announce a second show at some point soon, then these guys and the Joshi need to kind of have their WCW cruiserweight feel, and we haven't seen that since then. But this match was supposed to kind of skyrocket it, and it didn't really do that either, I think.
Sure.
So SCU takes the win.
Yep. And we can...
And that's about it.
Go ahead. Next we have, it was originally booked as a three-way with Britt Baker, Nyla Rose, and Kylie Ray. But then Brandy Rhodes comes out, and she announces that Awesome Kong is now signed.
Yeah, she specifically says, this was a great match. I didn't be a great match, but I want this match to be awesome. Which I thought was like dumb because great.
Yeah, she should have just like right. It was
Yeah,
yeah. She should have just left it alone and let Awesome Kong get the thing over instead of Brandy. But
for sure.
So
She
Awesome
came
Kong
out to
comes
a
out.
pop. I mean, the
Oh
crowd
yeah, definitely.
popped.
Um, yeah, this was a huge pop. It's kind of a shame because you can tell that Awesome Kong is really limited in the ring now. Like she wasn't really bumping a whole lot. She was just kind of doing a lot of like just like clotheslines and punching
Yeah,
and stuff like that. Or she was like out of the match for like a good
a
portion of it.
lot of it. Yeah.
The thing was only 11 minutes long. You know.
Well, and I think
Uh,
Excalibur kind of put her out of the match on commentary more than the
yeah.
competitors actually did.
Mm,
Um,
no, that's true.
so yeah, that was interesting. What I thought was really interesting is later when you actually see Aja Kong and you're like, holy crap, this in so many ways is the same gimmick.
Yeah.
With some differences, but I just thought it was
Aja
kind
Kong's
of
been wrestling like that since like the 90s at least. So
yeah, forever.
she's been
So
around a long time.
that was kind of interesting for me, and this is where you and I disagree. In this match, I was like, man, I wish Kylie Ray didn't leave. I would love to see her in the women's division because I mean I think the women need more solid like faces and names that they just don't have right now. So I think she'd be really good. And then Britt Baker won this. Yeah, obviously not hitting Nyla Rose for the win or Awesome Kong.
Yeah, she got Kylie Ray, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So she gets a win, but she doesn't get like this major over win, which is probably best in this scenario as you're wanting to obviously build Nyla Rose as a big beast for this division.
Sure.
So
yeah, it's funny seeing like again just looking back and seeing where people have evolved and things have changed, and like Britt Baker as a heel is like so much better. Like she's so much more her own thing than she was.
Yep.
She's not just like a pretty face now,
Well,
like
she wasn't even that bad here, but once Weekly Dynamite started coming out,
exactly,
like,
yeah.
You really don't have a lot here adding right now. And it's funny. I don't know if you noticed, but she comes out and she throws her arms like this. She's like, "What?" Me, and that's 100% from Adam Cole. She does a thrust kick and everything later. Adam Cole,
right?
So it's just kind of funny. And you still see that kind of in her gimmick right now. But I'm like, at least get married if you're going to do all of this stuff. That could be on him, I guess. Anyway, so yeah, Britt Baker wins. And then we get a very small Kenny Omega and Jericho in their dressing room thing. And just kind of a mentality thing is different. You see Kenny is super focused and like he's like stretching and all that. And then you have Jericho who's like totally the rock star and he looks like,
he's just pounding around.
But that was just a quick like, hey, this is going to be our main event. Then we have the next match, so the third match on the card, and this is the Best Friends versus before they were called TH2, but it is the Best Friends versus Jack and Angelico.
Yeah, it's funny that like because they're such like a who cares team. Like if you saw our rank tag teams video, we just like put them at dark only, and so now it's just kind of like it's funny like seeing them on such like a big stage like this.
What's funny is Excalibur even says it, and it was true because I was following all the YouTube stuff, but they literally whined their way to they were like, we don't want to be in a battle royal. Like they were announced for the battle royal, and they were like, why? Like we're tag team wrestlers. Yeah. So instead they got this match with the Best Friends, which I think was good. Watching this match reminds me that these guys could be very, very good as a tag team. I think they are probably somebody who could use maybe a manager as opposed to all the big guys who have managers right now.
Sure. Yeah.
And I definitely think they need a wardrobe change.
Well, it was kind of confusing with Best Friends wearing like the darker colors with like neon green and them also wearing the darker colors with neon green.
Yeah. But I also just like don't like their clothing. I don't know. I think Jack Evans to me is like I know he's not wearing like the singlet, but he's like a younger RVD. Like he kind of tries to carry himself RVD-ish. And I'm like, okay, you got to either do more RVD or go way out from that. Like stop walking away. And Helico is like nonchalant. Like I don't know. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I mean they're kind of
the
give
wrestle
team,
but they can wrestle for sure. and you see that in this match. Like, they really put up a good show. The Best Friends take this win, and what really mattered to me more than anything here was you could feel that tag team wrestling was gonna matter.
Right. Yeah.
I could feel that in this match. So that made me really happy. Do you have anything to say about the match before we go to the finish?
I mean, I love tag team signature moves. So I'm glad that there was a lot to showcase there.
Yeah.
So kind of adding on to your point about
tag team. It's great because, I mean, a tag team shouldn't just be a bunch of singles competitors who go out there, do their singles thing, and call it a day, and just try to cut the ring in half. There's so much more to that. And so, anyway, I think this is such a good showcase. There was a lot of tag team moves, and we see this later. Best Friends win, obviously. I mean, if you didn't know that, you don't have to watch this pay-per-view to know that. But then they try to go for a hug with TH2, which was really weird. And I was like, what's going on? Like, they took way too long in this moment. And I thought, again, it was funny because I forgot the Dark Order debuted here. So, I thought they were so I was like, oh, they're just going to kick him in the balls, But then the lights go out, and I'm like, oh, yeah, this is the Dark Order. So
it was pretty.
Yeah. So the Dark Order come out. It goes. It's black for too long. And then the Dark Order come out, and everyone's like, okay. And then it goes black again, and you're like, are they just going to disappear now or what? And then all the creepers come out, and all this stuff starts going down. But the second blackout was too long as well. It starts going down, and literally the crowd starts chanting, "Who are you?"
Yeah, this is supposed to show how far the quarters come from this, what it was, versus looking at it now. It is just like completely different. Like, I just cannot believe that, like, this is what the gimmick was, and that they were the ones running it just by themselves like this for and that's not to like a knock on Stu Grayson or Evil, like, that's just it just wasn't clearly not working, like, from the get-go. So,
well, I think one thing we got from a lot of guys was there was a lot of like BTE stuff going on, and people like there was so much teasing and stuff going on, and so everyone was following. Like, even if you didn't actually end up in AEW, there was a lot of teasing going on. So all the smart fans were watching all these YouTube channels and stuff, and so if like you didn't have to know who Sammy Guevara really was, you were actually into him because you had seen some stuff on YouTube and you'd heard this guy signed, and there was stuff like that. There was nothing for these guys. So and they went by the name Super Smash Bros on the indies.
Right, and I still have a couple Pro Wrestling Guerrilla DVDs where from like 2012, 2013 where they went with that.
Yeah, and it's like we can't put that on live TV. So nobody knows who these guys are at all. And so you can't blame the crowd for just not being into it. So that totally bombs. But then we move on. This is also, I would say, this is where Marvez starts to get on my nerves. Everybody, as soon as this pay-per-view was over, everybody was complaining about Alex Marvez on commentary, and I actually got the whole pay-per-view and did not hate him. I thought he did a good job. But everybody else was like, oh, he was awful. And then AEW listened, and they took him off. But I was like, what? He was bad? Like, I don't know. But now,
it didn't really seem
I hated him.
Well, it didn't seem like he was really, like, comfortable being there anyway. So it's not like, they probably just took him off just to be like, it seemed like they found a different role for him because he seemed nervous a lot, and he, so it's like
he didn't seem very excited or anything.
Yeah, well, he just seemed like he was just super nervous to be excited. So it's
so it's right here where he starts to drive me nuts. Then we go into the Joshi match. So we have Riho and Hikaru Shida, who are pretty good staples in the company now. They tagged with Ryo Mazzanini.
We're gonna butcher these.
I'm sorry. And they went against Aja Khan, Yuka Sakazaki, and Emi Sakura, who Aja Khan I don't think has been seen since this.
She was seen in Fight for the Fallen.
Okay, but she's not been on Dynamite.
No, well, she was originally signed on the website on the roster, and then she just like disappeared, and like they removed her, and there was no mention of her ever again. So something
Yeah.
didn't work out.
So, but yeah, Yuka Sakazaki and Emi Sakura have been on Dynamite. I don't know about the third member of Riho, Karashida, and the
She
name I've
wasn't.
already
This is the
butchered
only time
once.
we've seen her.
But yeah, I haven't seen her. But I actually really liked her. I felt like I would love to see her in some matches more.
Yeah.
Just to quickly go through this because there's not much here except for the finish. It was a fun match. Everyone looked good. Marvez starts to really get on my nerves.
Yeah.
And the crowd definitely jumps in and gets into this match. A couple minutes in, it took them a minute to be like, okay, we're supposed to care about this. And then they stole the crowd's heart. It's funny. It was fun when Emi Sakura starts her "We Will Rock You" thing, and it's like in the high-pitched Japanese voice, which is just awesome. We will rock you. So we're playing Dance Dance Revolution for a minute.
Right, I know.
Anyway, what were your thoughts on this match before the finish?
I mean, I didn't know who anyone was, and that's so it just wasn't like it was fine. You know, I wasn't like super like jumping up and down for it, but
for sure.
Yeah, it was alright.
Like,
though. Not, yeah.
Hikaru Shida looks so much better now than she did in this match. Like
Yeah,
they've done a really good job building her up.
definitely.
I thought Riho did look very strong in this match, and that was purposeful because I think they already planned on making her the champion. But yeah, Hikaru Shida looks way better now. Even though she does get the win, kind of here. We have so this match ends very poorly with Emi Sakura. Hits Hikaru Shida, goes for a pin. It is an almost 3. It's supposed to be close. Freaking Aubrey Edwards says 2. The bell rings, the music starts.
Oh,
and the crowd starts
so bad.
The crowd starts chanting, "You effed up! You effed up!" And then they go straight to the finish. Hikaru Shida takes the win.
Well, hold on. Did you mention
we didn't notice though the first time, but
I didn't
notice the first time at all was they played the same music both times. So they played Hikaru Shida's music when she was pinned, and then immediately plays it when she
gave it away.
Totally gave it away. But thankfully, no one knew Hikaru Shida's music yet. So like if that happened today, I'd be like I was like,
I know, I'd be
so livid right now because like I know Hikaru Shida's music now because she keeps coming out to that. But all of the Joshi on her team came out to this music, but it was just like so much, and that whole intro was so awful. Like I wasn't paying attention to the music. It was just like so horrible.
The entrances, I know we're already at the finish, about to talk to the next match, but the entrances were definitely rough. I think they should have just come out with one song. Like no one knew who they were really anyway, so it's like I don't think it would have been a disservice to anyone if they didn't.
Well, they just kept putting like the Japan flag up, like
right, yeah.
Like what do we do? So that was one of those.
And the show had a long run time to it. I think they could have probably
3 hours and 40 minutes or something like that. Like 3:40 for this without the buy-in.
So they could have shaved off some time with little things like that.
Yeah,
maybe
for
shaved
sure.
like 20 minutes if they kind of just, But anyway.
So the finish, Hikaru Shida actually gets the pin. The same music plays again. And we move on. I think
next.
Yep, I don't have any other notes for that. So then, so next we're about to go to Cody versus Dustin. But here's where I'm like, oh my, why do we sign JR to this? But JR openly looks down and is like, I don't know who we are. He's like, he goes, but I think it's serious.
He's like, I think it's some serious business, whatever it is. Marvez also had a face palm moment where he like said the wrong date for the All Out tickets right after they said what the date was. It was like 10 seconds. So he was the first person to talk after they said it.
Right.
And you can tell he was pretty embarrassed about that.
There is another point where JR says, we're trending on Twitter right now. And then specifically Excalibur is like, it's hashtag AEW Dia win. And then Alex Marvez is like, that stands for AEW double or nothing. And we're like, okay, thanks for like I'm not stupid. And then immediately after that, Jo goes, we're now trending on Twitter. It's like,
Yeah, that was. He's like, "Don't worry, guys, I'll save this."
like just repeating himself. It's so bad. Oh man. Okay. So here's where we start going into the end, and here's where the 3 matches that we have next are actually built well. There's one other segment that's awful, but these 3 upcoming matches were built really well. So we're going into Cody versus Dustin here, and for me, still, I was telling my wife because I was trying to convince her to watch this with me, which didn't really work. But I was telling her, like, if somebody was like, pro wrestling sucks, I hate pro wrestling, like, it's all fake, they went on and on and on. And then one day they came to me like, okay, you can show me one match. I'll watch one match, no distractions. What are you going to show me? Like, this is the match I'm going to show them. It's like such great storytelling. I'm not at all bothered by seeing Cody's butt, like when friggin' Dustin laughs. Like, the whole storytelling was just so good. Brandy,
you had even the build up before the match started. So much happened with like you had Cody come out with like the sledgehammer.
Yep.
And that whole thing, and which I mean, that's been like beat to death. Everyone's talked all about that.
Yeah, what's actually funny to me, and you can make fun of me for this, but I did not get the Triple H reference here at all. Like, at first,
the first time I didn't either, only because I had to turn around or had to go grab something when he like held it up like that.
Yeah.
But then that was the first time I ever watched it, and then after the show, I was like, I need to go back and watch that match again, and I saw it, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that was like a Triple H dig.
Like, I totally missed that. What bothered me though is like he like almost doesn't hit it, like he's like about to hit the throne before it explodes. So it's kind of like a little delay thing there. But he like hits it once and it like kind of breaks. Like, he should have hit the throne like 3 or 4 times. Just like
I wish that
gone to town. Like, it could have been a little bit better there.
I wish it wasn't like a set. I wish it was like an actual, just like really weak stone.
Yeah,
because they had like the pyro and the explosion. It was kind of like, okay, I don't,
Yeah.
And it broke in half on a part where he didn't even hit it. Like,
exactly. Well, if he had done that and then they played his music right away again, then they could have shot up more pyro and it would have been fine.
Sure,
I don't know how you feel, but Cody's music is my favorite entrance music in all of wrestling right now.
Oh yeah,
it's like as soon as he put it up, when he left WWE, he like almost immediately put it up on YouTube or something, and I love it. They're actually the same guys that do Dolph Ziggler's entrance music,
right?
But anyway,
they've done other things. Oh, they've done come out the Mrs. theme, but anyway,
so super good. And what you're gonna probably laugh at is Brandy does not annoy me at all in this match, like not a single time. And it's because she's a heel. She does heel things, and she's not annoying. But as soon as she starts to smile and be a baby face, I get pissed off every time.
This match was just like probably one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time. It's still probably my favorite match. I think we're gonna do a video at some point of maybe our favorite, like AEW's best matches up to this point, or top 10 greatest matches. Like, this one is probably, it's gonna be like top 3, top 2.
Yep.
Like, definitely, like, this is just like incredible, like the storytelling with it. I mean, all the blood, we got to talk about the blood, we got to talk, it's
all in all. One, and Earl Hebner, like
Earl Hebner being there at all, like there was a lot of, it's crazy, it was such like a historical moment of like taking like the past, the present, and the future of like there's so many things, but it wasn't chaotic. It was all like, it made sense and everything had its place, and it was good stuff.
So I think it ran the perfect amount of time.
Yeah.
At the end, Cody leaves. Dustin goes to unlace his boots. Cody comes inside, and Dustin visibly runs. Like, he thinks, my brother owns this company. He's going to kick me in the face. Like, he like dips out from the center to get to the corner. And then here's where Cody does essentially his first babyface promo. I think this is really the moment that kind of turns him babyface, because he was working pretty heelish during this. I mean, it was kind of in between, but it was pretty heelish. But he grabs the microphone. Here's where he famously says, I need my older brother.
Yeah, this part was a little like I will forgive it because of like how
Dude,
amazing
I
it was
get
to us.
emotional every time.
Really, I like
Yeah.
laugh at it and I cringe and like
Dude.
just his delivery on it. But I mean, I'm fine forgiving it because everything else was like so great.
Well, and
It does not knock down at all.
what it was though is it was actually real. Like
Yeah, I heard
Dustin
about
was literally going to unlace his boot. Cody did not for sure plan that he was going to have Dustin be his tag team partner later. And so he comes out there emotional, like my brother just killed it. Like
Yeah,
we knew he could go, but man, he could go. Like, how is it that in the year 2019, Dustin Rhodes is part of the match of the year?
I know.
Dustin Rhodes, like, and not even like okay, Chris Jericho, we can have that conversation because he has
Yeah,
continued to do great things. He didn't become the straight up comedy wrestler or whatever. He did some of that, but he's been legit and he went and did all these things. Dustin's been done.
yeah,
He's been done for
yeah,
years, like 2 decades. He's been in comedy
mm,
stuff and no one has cared. And then he goes hard and like
yeah,
you just see your brother do this. You know he still has it in him. You go out there and you emotionally are asking him, "Hey, don't retire. Instead, wrestle with me." I don't know. For me, this like makes it's the icing on the cake. I love it.
yeah, definitely.
I love it.
Well, in this, they were wanting to wrestle at the WrestleMania a couple of years before this, or whatever it was, and Vince didn't. He didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it, and so
He,
then this was kind of. But I mean, they would not have been given him out the same amount of time, or
for sure.
So it's better that he said no. That way they could do it here, do whatever they
For
wanted.
sure.
Um, but yeah,
I
so
love
I'm
how many
glad it wasn't able
times
to happen.
I love how many times AEW flips off Vince without even trying.
Yeah, right.
And I mean, literally, you're talking this. They begged him for this match. They wanted it
hmm
so badly. They turned him down. It became match of the year for another company. Like, how is
Yeah,
it? How is it that a company in its inaugural year multiple times ends up as on Dave Meltzer's list? And not just
right.
because these guys are
Yeah,
his friends, like because they are, but like these guys can wrestle, and WWE has passed up on so much of that. I read an article today about Arn Anderson talking about how he wanted AJ Styles, and then he wanted Beer Money. He wanted all three of those guys to James Storm and Bobby Roode to
yeah,
come to WWE specifically to fight John Cena because John Cena needed more guys and stuff. And John Cena's like, no, we have NXT. Like we'll build people there. And Arn is like, it was just his Vince McMahon response. And then what happens is AJ Styles and John Cena went on to have an amazing feud
yeah.
after they signed him and stuff. So it's like WWE passes up on these opportunities way too often, and then AEW is capitalizing on what they know we actually want to see and what could actually be good. So
Wait, definitely. Let's go ahead and
anyway,
move on.
so we have a quick
Um,
recap of the buy-in, and here's where everything you need to know is Adam Page wins, and he is going to come out to have to see the AEW Championship get revealed by none other than Bret Hart, who is like, how they say like, oh, he's lost a step. Like, oh, legitimately, he was limping out to the
yeah,
ring.
he's
And,
yeah.
rumor was that he was like happened to be in Vegas that weekend, and so they called him and asked him to do this. And
I didn't know about that.
yeah, and so they paid him, so he was like not prepared at all. So that's
You can
probably
tell.
why it didn't go very well. Uh, anyway, you go ahead and tell me this fun stuff
Yeah,
here.
I thought this was probably the weakest part of the whole show.
So bad.
Um,
Aside from
it was
MJF.
well, yeah, aside from everything MJF said, but like it was just we were supposed to see the title. Adam Page was supposed to come out and like be a part of that. I don't know why Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega weren't out there too, but whatever. So Adam Page comes out, and then MJF comes out and like interrupts it and starts bantering with everyone and to Bret Hart and all this stuff, and then
He calls Adam Page Seabiscuit.
yeah,
He's
and
like, whoa,
then
whoa there, Seabiscuit.
right, and then Jungle Boy comes out because he need a match for next month.
So much.
And then Jimmy Havoc comes out because he needs a match for next month. So then they're kind of like, and correct me if I'm wrong, forgetting this a little bit, but they kind of, I mean, basically they end up just kind of like fighting off like Adam Page stays, but then like MJF and Jimmy Havoc and Jungle Boy go into the crowd and they like just spill out. And then like right after that, while the crowd is still like looking over at what that's doing, Bret Hart just like takes the thing off the belt and just starts showing it.
And he's showing it to like not camera side.
Right. Well, plus you can see like people aren't even paying attention because they're like still looking at like everything happening with MJF.
Yep.
And then people slowly start turning around, and it was just like, and then Adam Page is just kind of like standing there. He hasn't said anything.
So I thought he should have grabbed them. He should have grabbed the mic at this point and turned the attention back to the ring. And he could even like, I mean, I know he wasn't his drunken cowboy thing yet, but his drunken cowboy could be like, I don't know what that's about, but can I see that belt? You know,
right?
They could have done
trying to build him up as like a main event star. Like he should have the mic and be able to say something and not just look like a dude who's challenging for the title. Like, you know.
Yep. So Brett reveals it like against away from the camera. And he finally turns it. They find the camera angle, and now they're not on it.
Yeah.
It's like the worst debut for this title belt could have possibly had.
Which sucks because it's like a belt. Like I like the design.
It's gorgeous. And I think they should have done was they had the guy who introduced Bret Hart, the English guy. He had it on him in a bunch of like YouTube stuff. Where he's like talking with Tony Khan and stuff, and they don't reveal it at all during that time. They could have just revealed it on YouTube. It would have been fine. And they bring it out to the ring, like, you know, maybe obviously we know the far end finish is better, but there could have been something that did involve either just Chris Jericho or Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega. But nonetheless,
whatever.
Sorry
it's done.
But
so
it's not good.
A lot of stuff involving Adam Page those first 6 months is already like super forgettable anyway. So it's
for sure.
What's the difference?
His cowboy gimmick is way better.
So we got a couple matches left.
Yep. So now we go into the AAA tag team titles, and this is like up to this point the best tag team match I had ever seen.
Yeah.
There is not. I'm sorry, but the Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros really know how to fight each other. And so I absolutely love this. My biggest thing that points out to me more than anything is just how great Excalibur is. You know, aside from the wrestling itself, which again shows that tag team wrestling is going to be really important. The crowd starts chanting tag team wrestling. This is great, but this is like Excalibur has a job. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, Excalibur is phenomenal here. So tell me what you think about this match.
Play was so good.
Yeah, what do you think about this match?
I mean, I don't even know where to like begin with this. It was just like, I mean, I know people accuse stuff like this as like, oh, it's just a bunch of spot fest, like blah, blah, blah stuff. But it's like, there's still stories to that, you know?
Well, yeah, they told the story of like the Bucks being rusty very well. Like they ran into each other a few good times. Like they had some of that. They had some down times too, like in a good way, like where everyone like super kicks each other and then they're all like laying on the back.
They can
the crowd just explodes and they can like breathe for 1 second. But it's hard not to be a spot fest when you're going against Lucha Libre wrestlers. Like, even though obviously we know the Young Bucks do a lot of that, these are Lucha Libre wrestlers. Like, if you cannot tell me that you like Rey Mysterio and then say you don't like Rey Fenix. Like, Rey Fenix is literally Rey Mysterio on steroids. Like, he is phenomenal. And then Pentagon is like a good solid man. Like, he's a strong guy that's still lucha-ish, that still can do all this stuff. Like, I would not be surprised to see the actual world heavyweight champion at some point in this company. He's just great. Definitely. And then you put these guys doing all this tag stuff. Like, all the spots were great. All the matches were great. Continuing to sell Matt's back a little bit. Just, I don't know. I love it. The only kind of downer for me was just like, I didn't care about the titles at all.
Same. I was just wishing we had at that point, I was just wishing we had AEW titles, which I was like, I just don't care about these titles. Like, I want like actual titles that mean something here for this company. But they had to do what they had to do, so it was
Yep. Well, I think it was part of them
was
having a contract with AAA. Was like
sure, yeah,
to elevate their tag team division.
Mm. And it was good for there to be, because you had the Cody and Dustin match, and then you had I think it was a good way to showcase the differences between like what the company offers. But yeah, Young Bucks get the win, which is pretty expected. I know that the Young Bucks actually said that they wanted to lose that match, but Tony Khan was the one who had to like put his foot down and be like, no,
they said that multiple times. Like, they're like, we want to win, but Tony keeps, or we want to lose, but Tony keeps making us win, which is good, because I appreciate.
No, I agree with Tony Khan. I think.
I appreciate they're humble, but you have to have somebody who has that more business mind, and not just trying to help their friends. What I loved about this match was like how they pulled out like the Motor City Machine Guns finisher. They pulled out El Generico and Kevin Steen. Like they did a lot of those things. And I just really want El Generico and Kevin Steen to come to AEW.
Yeah, well, I don't know if that'll ever happen.
I don't know, man. They're both really pissing off WWE right now, and vice versa. So both of them have decided because of the pandemic they're not going to go into work. Which I think they should go into work just so that they can hurry up and get their contract expired. But I think Kevin Owens has like a 5-year contract, something stupid. But he would be so much better in this company. I think he should call up like the Bucks and just be like, "Hey, I'm going to be a total a-hole. I'm going to piss everybody in the back off. But don't think it's because I'm an a-hole now. It's just because I want to come work with you instead. Right. I'm just trying to get fired."
Cool. So let's move on to the main event.
So the main event, the only thing that did kind of suck about the main event to me was just that it was after this tag team match. That was it. For me, that's the only thing that kind of bothered me because it's so fast that they slowed down pretty good. Anyway,
the match was it was slower paced. The part that kind of got me, it was hard because you went like 3 these 20+ minute matches, so it did get a little tiring. But the length maybe could have been squashed down, maybe 5 minutes or something like that. But the other part that bothered me though, and this was a problem that is not really happening as much now, but it's where the whole referee's discretion thing. I absolutely hated that, where it's just like guys can go around and do whatever they want because they know that the match isn't going to end as a DQ, And so it's kind of like, and then like the commentators just have to like defend the referee and be like, oh, this is just the, it's referee's discretion.
They know that match in Japan, they were outside most of the time. So, because he knows that, he's going to let that happen.
Right, and it's just dumb because it's just like the referee shouldn't care. He shouldn't have a bias like, oh, I just want this to be. I don't, it's just kind of like football referees don't do that. Like,
I don't care how the game ends. Like,
right, they're just doing their job. So it's like you have like these tables that get put out, and the match was just kind of like a no DQ match. It wasn't like a full out street fight or anything, but it was like just a no DQ where they had like I think Chris Jericho hits Kenny with the bell or with a camera or something. Or maybe both.
It was a camera. There was no bell.
The camera. And then Kenny gets the table and like puts it on him, like stomps on them. Like these are all cool spots. It just takes me out of it because it's just kind of like, okay, is there just no rules until the referee says there are? Like, I
didn't mention this earlier, but there was a time, I think it was Best Friends versus TH2, where the commentary team did say specifically that the 5 count for tag teams is 10 count in AEW, which they need to mention more often, as opposed to JR going, I don't know why the referee's letting this happen. I would have,
or even
because he openly gets aggravated with the referee actually.
Which some people hate it when he does that. I love it because it's like, no, there needs to be more attention. This is a problem,
I don't like it because they're not fixing it. If they fix it because he calls it out, sure. But
I think they've gotten a lot better at it. Because before there, and this is off topic, but like Lucha Bros, there's like the thing where like they weren't even in the ring, or they weren't like one person wasn't even on the apron when he got tagged. He was just in the corner inside the ring.
Yeah.
Like that was an episode of Dynamite, I think. But just like little things like that to where it's just kind of like, okay, it's just fine, like, you know. But
Yep.
when we're talking about,
I don't know how much you know. Sorry to keep on a tangent, but like in lucha style tag team, they don't even tag. Like if you get outside the ring, your partner can come in. So if I Irish whip you, you go over the rope, the partner can just come in right at me, and you just keep moving. So that is something you'll see with the Lucha Bros more, which is why FTR said something about that, tag team wrestling, just because it is definitely very different in Mexico. But anyway, this main event was really good.
Yeah, it was a good match.
Jericho is a really good storyteller. He can continue to hit Kenny in the eye over and over again, like the same spot, which was great. Then I actually really like toward the finish. Jericho goes up for the lion salt. He goes to bounce, and Kenny comes up underneath him. Well, I'm like, that's the perfect way to get into the one-winged angel. I really like that. It was just funny hearing the walls of Jericho being called the lion tamer.
Yeah.
I'm not used to that still. Being as Jericho is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I'm not used to that. So.
Well, I think it was called the lion tamer because he was more like, it wasn't the traditional Boston Crab thing. It was more like his knee was like
about the oh yeah.
Or are you talking about the Judas Effect?
No, you're right. I got mistaken. I think it's that plus just I think the named Walls of Jericho is probably owned by WWE.
Maybe.
Because I don't know how. I mean, he owns Chris Jericho because he brought that from Japan into WCW into WWE. So
he's been Chris Jericho since he first started. His debut match in Canada was Chris Jericho.
Yeah. So fortunately, he's able to carry that, but Kurt Angle couldn't call it the Angle Slam. He had to call it the Olympic Slam in TNA. Because even though it's just naming it, that is a title of something that the company owns. So it just kind of threw me off. But this was great. I just remember being like, oh yeah, I have to get used to the fact that Jericho has a dad bod now. But the number one thing I felt,
he was more out of shape here than he was a little later on, All Out.
Even right now on Dynamite and stuff, he looks better than this. But the one thing that really stood out to me here was Kenny Omega is such a main eventer, and I want that back. I really can't wait for this tag team thing to be over, just because. Not that I'm not loving it, because I am. I mean, best tag team match I've ever seen was them versus the Bucks, but I really want to see Kenny Omega versus Hangman Page,
All Out.
Yeah, a legit pay-per-view in front of a crowd where they just go hard, and sick sadistic Kenny Omega comes out that we saw a little bit in that tag team match. But man, I just can't wait to see that Kenny come back, because that's the Kenny that stole the world. That's the Kenny that became the greatest wrestler on the planet. And right now he's just a dormant hermit. And it's come on, man. And this match reminded me that he could really do that. And I think more so than, his match later with Moxley, because that was a gimmick match. But this match, just all in all, Kenny is great. And Excalibur yells, V-Trigger, every time, which he doesn't do anymore. And it makes me so angry. Every time I hear it in my head, V-Trigger! And it just... Just the way they super kick. Those things need to just be emphasized so much more. Anyway.
Yeah, so Chris Jericho gets the win. A very unexpected Judas Effect. The first time I had seen it. I didn't even know it was his finisher when I first watched it, when I first watched it. So it's kind of, again, it's funny going back now and rewatching.
Yeah, again, it's a YouTube thing that I followed, so I knew it was going to come.
Oh, okay. He gets the win. He grabs a microphone, starts cutting a promo about how AEW is all, this is only a thing because of him. Everyone should give him a thank you. All this stuff.
The crowd goes nuts.
Yeah.
Just insane. And from the crowd, Yeah.
I was gonna say you're gonna do it. I was waiting for you to do it.
Yeah, John Moxley comes out. It's funny to me because, like, again, like you kind of forget like when these guys debut. Because to me, like John Moxley's been there since day one, which I mean, kind of he is there at the end of this pay-per-view. But I'm like, yeah, of course, like John Moxley's part of this. So
Right, yeah, I know. He just was not a part of this until then. No one knew
exactly.
Yeah.
And then him and Kenny just go all. I mean, he attacks Jericho. Him and Kenny go all the way up to the stage, and then ultimately he gets paradigm shift. But at this point, it's just DDT, DDT, DDT. That's
Yeah.
all you're hearing on commentary. But he paradigm shifts him onto the chip, and then later, like I thought that should have been enough, but then he throws him off onto this gimmicked part of the stage that breaks. I think if you just paradigm shift him there and it ended with his tongue out and whatnot, we'd have been fine. But he probably got the call that like, hey, we still have 45 seconds, and he was like, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so and then it just ends there with his face with his tongue hanging out and everything. So
This was so great. Oh, I love John Moxley.
So yeah, so those are our thoughts on the whole first ever pay-per-view. After looking at everything, all the pros, all the cons, what would you rate this out of 10?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is there's 3 good, strong matches here. Everything else was great. Like there was no match that fell flat for me. There was no match that like I was just like, why is this even here? Because I understood this is the first pay-per-view. But there was only like 3 legit matches here. And those 3 were great matches. So for me, I think if I'm honest with some of the production stuff, like we didn't mention this, but at one point, like Ray Phoenix brings Nick Jackson all the way up the ramp and like does something and leaves him up the ramp, and then like just comes back, and it's like we're supposed to know this happened in the story they're telling, but the camera never showed us that.
Yeah.
So there's some of those production things that really ruin parts of the show. But I'm glad they got to get those out. They did 4 pay-per-views or whatever before they did their actual Dynamite, and like they really, as we'll see as we continue to go through these, but they really kind of grind those out. For me, I want to give it higher because I'm at a mark, but I think if I stop and I'm really honest with myself, I'd give it like a 7 out of 10.
Really? 7? Oh, that's low. Okay.
Yeah. See, it's because of
so here
Bret Hart hurts me.
Just so we know this, we should have talked about this beforehand. Let's say 5 is average.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, then it's an 8.
An 8. Okay, so you're gonna. Okay, so 5 is average. I'm just going off of like Angry Joe scale.
Yeah.
5 is like average, whatever, and so then everything else. Okay, so an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, 7.5 to 8. I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot wrong with this, especially the Bret Hart section. The Awesome Kong was very slow. The Joshi match had their ups and downs at the beginning and the end of that. There's just a lot there that like could still leave you one. I think today, now that I just like watched Double or Nothing 2, this is less for me. When it first came out, dude, like this is the greatest pay-per-view I've ever seen in my life.
Sure, yeah.
And I think I told you that when I called you. It was like, this is
you tell me like 10 out of 10? Like
yeah. But yeah, looking back on it, I guess I think it'd be interesting if we review everything a year back previously and see how we feel about it the second time. But yeah, I'm high on it, but I'm not as high if I think about it.
Sure, yeah. Reality is settled in. Okay, so you say 8. I'm gonna give it a 9.
Oh, okay.
Now a 10 isn't a perfect show for me. I don't think it has to be a perfect show, but it's like but a 9, I think that there was just enough there to kind of be like, okay, that could have been fixed or that should have been better. So a 9 like it's like great. Like I want to be very like it's AEW, so everything's great and everything's 10 out of 10. Like I want to be very like critical and very unbiased and everything. So
for sure.
So we got 9 out of 10 for me, 8 out of 10 for you.
Yeah, like I said, I think there's just some things that make that really hard for me, and I need to let go because I am a mark. Like I love AEW. It takes a lot. takes a lot for me to go, that sucked. It took a
Yeah.
lot. Like honestly, it took me watching the Dark Order debut a second time to actually hate it. Like the first time, I
Yeah.
was just like, "Who cares?" I didn't even hear the crowd going, "Who are you?" Like I was just
Mm.
like, "Oh, it's another tag team." Like that's all that mattered to me. So and I was excited because it was another tag team, but it did fall flat when you rewatch it, and so that's why I think I'm a little lower. But I do remember this being the best pay-per-view I'd ever seen up to this point. And I still probably believe that if I don't have the AEW pay-per-views after this to balance it out, and yeah, so
Sure.
then this would still be up there. It would be a higher score probably, but
Okay. Cool. Well, let us know what you guys think in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe, like our video, to see more content. We'll be having more of these reviews coming your way pretty soon. So yeah, hope to see you guys soon. And until then, that's another in the can.